My friends, have you ever stayed in a place where your heart was not at peace, but your fear of walking away was greater than your respect for yourself? We cling to situations, relationships, and environments that drain us simply because we fear change. But let me tell you something very important today. When you respect yourself enough to walk away from what is not serving your growth, you are not losing. You are aligning yourself with the higher plan of God. Life is too precious to keep your soul imprisoned in places where it is not valued. Respecting yourself is not arrogance. It is acknowledging that God created you with dignity, with worth, and with purpose. When you choose to walk away from disrespect, from negativity, from constant struggle without peace, you are not being selfish. You are being guided. And the moment you make that decision, you feel lighter, freer, and closer to God's true design for your life. Today, let us reflect together on how respecting ourselves enough to walk away can transform not just our hearts, but our entire destiny. When we talk about respecting ourselves enough to walk away, the very first foundation we must build upon is the realization that our worth comes from God, not from people. This is where everything begins. Because if you don't know your worth, if you don't recognize the sacred value placed upon you by the divine, you will spend your entire life chasing approval from people who themselves may not even know their own value. Imagine a person who takes a diamond to a roadside vendor who only deals in glass beads. The vendor looks at it, turns it around, and says, "This is worthless." Does that make the diamond lose its value? Absolutely not. The diamond is still a diamond, precious, rare, and irreplaceable. The problem is not with the diamond, it is with the eyes of the one who cannot see. In life, we often find ourselves in places where people do not see our worth. They may disrespect us, take us for granted, or constantly make us feel small. But here is the truth. Just because someone fails to recognize your value does not mean you have no value. Your worth is not determined by their treatment of you. It was already determined by the one who created you. And when God created you, He did not create you with flaws in your essence. Yes, you may have imperfections in your habits or mistakes in your past, but your essence, the soul within you, is perfectly designed by Him. Think of daily life. At work, you may put in your best efforts, stay late, and still feel unappreciated. In relationships, you may give your heart, your time, your care, only to feel taken for granted. In friendships, you may always be the one listening, supporting, helping, and when you need someone, the room feels empty. If you are not careful, these situations make you start questioning your own worth. Am I not good enough? Am I not lovable enough? Am I not worthy enough? And that is where self-respect must whisper in your ear. Do not let their blindness make you doubt your brilliance. Respecting yourself enough to walk away starts with this deep inner knowing that you are a creation of God. Imagine if the sun started asking permission to shine. Imagine if the ocean asked people whether it should roar. Imagine if the flowers asked the crowd if they are allowed to bloom. It would sound ridiculous, right? Yet we humans do this all the time. We keep asking others for permission to live, to be happy, to feel worthy. But the sun shines because that is its nature. The ocean roars because that is its nature. The flowers bloom because that is their nature. You are designed by God to live with dignity, to radiate peace, to walk in confidence. The tragedy is, most of us forget this and let people's opinions define us. One harsh word, one rejection, one betrayal, and suddenly we feel crushed. But ask yourself, who are they to measure your worth? People are fickle. One day they clap for you, The next day they criticize you. One day they love you, the next day they forget you. If you depend on people for your sense of worth, your soul will always live in turbulence. But if you anchor your worth in God, you become unshakable. Every morning when you wake up, remind yourself, I am valuable because God made me. I am worthy because my soul carries His light. I am enough because He chose to give me this breath today. This one practice, repeated daily, builds an inner strength that no insult can destroy, no rejection can weaken, no failure can erase. Now, let me bring it closer to everyday experience. Imagine you are in a workplace where your boss constantly demeans you, never acknowledges your effort, and makes you feel small. You keep staying, hoping one day they will see your worth, but year after year it doesn't happen. Here is the lesson. Your worth is not hidden, their vision is. Sometimes, the most respectful thing you can do for yourself is to walk away and find a place where your abilities can shine. Not because you need validation, but because you deserve to be in an environment that matches the value God has placed in you. Or consider a relationship where you are constantly being disrespected, where your voice is silenced, your emotions are ignored, and your presence is undervalued. Many people stay convincing themselves, maybe if I change, maybe if I adjust more, maybe if I sacrifice more, they will see my worth. But here's the truth. The problem is not that you are not enough. The problem is they are not capable of seeing what you bring. Respect yourself enough to understand that walking away doesn't mean you are weak. It means you finally remembered your worth. Life will constantly put you in situations that test whether you know your value. And when those moments come, you must ask yourself, do I see myself the way God sees me, or do I see myself the way people treat me? If you choose the latter, you will always be broken by their actions. But if you choose the former, you will stand tall even in the face of rejection. So let me say this, your worth is not up for negotiation. It is not on sale, not up for discount, not dependent on people's moods. It is divine, fixed, eternal. And when you internalize this truth, walking away from anything that disrespects your worth becomes easier. You don't walk away in anger. You don't walk away in bitterness. You walk away in peace because you know God has already written a better path for you. When you deeply respect yourself in this way, you stop begging for scraps of appreciation. You stop lowering your standards just to fit into people's boxes. You stop chasing love in places where your soul is suffocating. You start living with dignity, walking with confidence, and aligning yourself with the higher design of life. And that, my friends, is what it means to respect yourself enough to walk away. Because your worth has already been decided, not by people, but by God. Peace is one of the most underrated treasures of life. Many people spend their whole lives chasing approval from others, thinking that if they are accepted, appreciated, and admired, then they will finally feel happy. But the reality is, approval is fleeting, unstable, and temporary, while peace is permanent, priceless, and deeply fulfilling. Respecting yourself enough to walk away means recognizing that your peace is more precious than the applause of people. If you lose your peace in order to gain their approval, you have traded diamonds for dust. Think about it in daily life. Imagine you are at work and you take on extra projects, work overtime, and sacrifice your rest, not because it brings you joy, but because you want your boss or colleagues to think highly of you. At first, the compliments feel nice. People say, "Oh, you're so hardworking, so committed." But slowly, you begin to notice you are exhausted, you are burned out, you are irritable with your family, And worst of all, your inner calm is gone. The approval came, but the peace left. What is the point of gaining admiration if it costs you your sanity? Or imagine you are in a relationship where you constantly mold yourself to please the other person. You hide your feelings so they won't get upset. You sacrifice your needs so they won't complain. You smile when inside you want to cry. At first it seems like love. You think you're keeping harmony. But over time, you notice that your spirit feels trapped, your true self is silenced, and your joy is slipping away. Yes, you may have their approval, but you don't have peace. And without peace, love becomes a prison instead of a freedom. Approval is like standing on shifting sand. One day people clap for you, the next day they criticize you. One day they sing your praises, the next day they question your worth. If your happiness is tied to their approval, you will always be tossed around like a ship in a storm. But peace is like standing on solid ground. It comes from within, from knowing who you are, from living in alignment with God's design, not people's expectations. Peace is stable, quiet, and deeply nourishing. Consider nature. A river doesn't ask permission to flow, it simply moves with grace, finding its way around stones and obstacles. A tree doesn't wait for approval before it grows, it stretches its roots deep and lifts its branches high, regardless of who notices. The river and the tree have peace because they are simply living their truth. If they were to wait for approval before being themselves, they would never flourish. Similarly, we humans lose peace when we trade our authenticity for acceptance. One of the most painful truths in life is that no matter how much you try, you cannot please everyone. You could be the kindest, most genuine, most hardworking person, and still someone will find fault in you. So why sacrifice your peace for something that is impossible to guarantee? The wiser choice is to prioritize your inner calm. When you protect your peace, you begin to live with freedom. You stop worrying about every opinion, every judgment, every comment. You begin to trust that as long as you are true to yourself and aligned with God, the right people will appreciate you and the wrong people will drift away. Think about moments when you felt most peaceful. Maybe it was sitting by the sea, listening to the waves. Maybe it was spending quiet time in prayer, where the noise of the world faded away. Maybe it was a walk in nature, where you felt connected to something greater than yourself. In those moments, no one was clapping for you, no one was praising you, no one was giving you approval, yet you felt complete. Why? Because peace is fulfillment in itself. It doesn't need an audience. When you respect yourself enough to walk away, you are choosing peace over approval. You are saying, I would rather disappoint others than continuously disappoint myself. I would rather be misunderstood by people than be disconnected from my own soul. I would rather be alone in peace than surrounded by noise without joy. That decision is powerful because it honors the truth of who you are. Imagine a bird in a cage. People might come and say, "Oh, how beautiful this bird is, how lovely it sings." The bird may feel admired, but deep down it knows it is not free. It doesn't want approval, it wants the open sky. That bird represents all of us when we seek admiration but sacrifice our freedom. The open sky is peace, and no compliment can replace the feeling of flying free. There will be moments in your life when you are faced with a choice: stay in a situation where you are praised but restless, or walk away into a place of silence and find peace. In those moments, remember that peace is not weakness, it is strength. Peace doesn't mean you are avoiding conflict, it means you are choosing not to let conflict live inside you. Peace is not laziness, It is power under control. Peace is not emptiness, it is fullness that doesn't need noise. So, never apologize for choosing peace over approval. Never feel guilty for walking away from situations that drain your soul. People may call you selfish, but you are not selfish. You are wise. People may call you stubborn, but you are not stubborn. You are strong. People may call you strange, but you are not strange. You are spiritual. Because the greatest gift you can give yourself and the world around you is a peaceful version of you. Respecting yourself enough to walk away is, at its core, a choice to protect that peace. And when you live with peace, your presence becomes powerful. You don't even need to speak loudly. Your calmness speaks for you. You don't need to demand respect. Your energy radiates it. You don't need to chase approval. Your peace becomes magnetic, drawing the right people and opportunities into your life. At the end of the day, applause fades, opinions change, and approval disappears. But peace, that stays with you when you close your eyes at night and open them in the morning. That is why peace will always be more precious than approval. Boundaries are one of the purest forms of self-respect. They are invisible lines you draw around your heart, your time, your energy, and your values to protect your peace and dignity. Too often, people misunderstand boundaries. They think setting limits means you don't care about others or that you're being distant, cold, or selfish. But in reality, boundaries are the exact opposite. Boundaries allow you to love more genuinely, give more wisely, and live more peacefully. Without boundaries, your life becomes like a house with open doors where anyone can walk in, rearrange the furniture, and leave chaos behind. With boundaries, you protect your sacred space, ensuring that only what aligns with your worth and values has permission to stay. In daily life, this lesson becomes very real. Imagine a friend who constantly calls you at midnight, not because of emergencies, but because they want to gossip. At first, you pick up every call, even though you are tired, because you don't want them to feel ignored. But eventually, your sleep suffers, your mornings are unproductive, and your health begins to decline. You've sacrificed your well-being for their convenience. Now, if you gently say, "I can't talk at night, but I'm available tomorrow during the day," that is not rejection. It is self-respect. You are not pushing them away. You are teaching them how to value your time. Another example, think of someone who always asks for favors, borrows money, expects your help, but disappears when you need support. If you keep giving without limits, you are not being kind, you are being used. True kindness has balance. When you finally say, "I'm not in a position to help right now," you are not being cruel, you are being honest with yourself. That honesty is a boundary, and boundaries filter relationships. They separate those who truly value you from those who only use you. Boundaries also apply in work. If you take on every extra task, accept every deadline, and never say no, people will assume your time has no value. Slowly you begin to feel resentment, exhaustion, and loss of joy in the work you once loved. The moment you decide to say, "I will do my part with excellence, but I cannot carry what is beyond my role," you reclaim your dignity. Work becomes meaningful again because you are no longer drowning under weight that isn't yours to carry. Spiritually, boundaries are sacred. Your heart is a temple of God's light. If you allow endless negativity, toxic conversations, or destructive influences to enter, that light becomes dimmed. Protecting your heart is not about shutting people out. It is about guarding your energy so you can